Good day, and today is April 15th. It is 2020, and it is exactly at 2:10 in the afternoon. I have been spending much time alone as we are all in sacred seclusion. Great Creator Mother Earth is now speaking to us, and everybody who is centering in their heart and taking the time to be silent is able to listen and hear what it is that we are being asked. Finally, after 8 years of myself traveling around the United States, I've been able to meet beyond my expectations of leaders, artists, musicians, those of our indigenous tribes of North America have blessed me with sharing their wisdoms, their ways. I've been blessed to learn how to come back into the sacred circle in 2013. I was asked to join a ceremony in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And then it was these last 7 years that I've been facilitating these ceremonies and learning how to build them through Raphael Weissman, Jay Lynch, and Phoenix, Armelio. I've been blessed to also be in Grandmother Flor de Mayo's in Estancia, New Mexico, our 13 indigenous grandmother of the Mayas, and Star Dreamin', James Jareb, who built 16 different medicine wheels that are themed and dedicated with intention, from everything from the Star Nation to the Archangels to the Saint Germain to Milky Way and our Avalon brothers and sisters. He has a medicine wheel built for the grandmothers, the grandfathers, the grandchildren, for the sun god Ra, for the fairies, and for love. One for the new earth, one for Isis and Osiris. I want to give thanks to those elders that have brought me into the sacred circle. I've been blessed to be in the sacred circle and really come into the knowledge of who I am. What I was feeling when I was in the sacred circle has come to my understanding and understanding and overstanding that my life that once was in the past filled with trauma, as I entered the sacred circle in sobriety. 2013 was the first year of my sobriety, and I was able to speak about my imbalances and how I felt in the sacred circle. And even though I knew that people didn't like what I was saying because what I was saying was really hard. I was being asked to pray in the sacred circle for myself and for the people that I knew and for the world, and pray for the matters that I hold really dear to my heart based on my life experience, and being that I was diagnosed with mental illness, PTSD, and bipolar 2 in 2013 as well. I decided to utilize the circle, the sacred circle, the medicine water wheels, to share with other people my journey and pray and ask for guidance. I was being guided by God to be assistance and of service to all of humanity, and to be the wind beneath the wings of the eagles and the condors that were gathering around the United States at these transformational music and art festivals. So I joined the circus, so to speak, and I went on the journey to share my wisdom and my experiences through speaking and sharing my stories. For me, I wasn't really readily heard. I broke open the pain body of many of those who thought they no longer had a pain body and were teaching and leading circles. And here I came along and went straight into the story of my past, not realizing that it opened up the wounds for many who were not yet healed. And even though they were projecting upon me as an empath, I didn't realize that we all were healing. And that even the teachers and the artists and the musicians and the speakers, the facilitators, the very ones that I was looking up to for all the answers, they didn't have the answer either. In every country, as I looked and did my research around the world, all suffered. And yet no one was really above or below, but yet we thought we were. And racism has destroyed the human connection between all of humanity, thinking that others were taking resources from us. We allowed a lot of imbalances and pollution to take place, and we failed to pay attention to Mother Earth and her needs that we are the steward of. All of our resources come from the Mother. So how could it be true that one individual was abandoned by their biological mother? For we have Earth Mother. And she provides everything, from our water to our food, to the beauty, our homes, and every single electronic and product that we hold in our hands, that we sit on, is made from the resources of this earth, whether it's the crystals in our electronics, the wood in our homes, and the water that we use to grow our food, and the fire that gives us heat and power for our vehicles to take us far places, to all of the plants and how how she provides with her trees all of the things that we need. Four-leggeds and the two-leggeds in these last few years have become friends again. So let us love our brothers of the four-leggeds and our finned ones. And if we can embrace each other from a different species, how can we embrace then every race, every planet, every galaxy, every living thing? It's time to reverence the light that gives us life and allow that which we call the heart to activate in the highest of the way, from the stars to the earth. I pray that we can bring this day into the month of May. I pray, God, Goddess, Mother Earth, I love. Can you feel our heart intentions for world peace? I love. The God, Goddess above. It's time to play the music. Get back into the sacred circle. And remember that we're all one. Every man and woman has suffered on the planet. And we are here to heal our family lineages. We chose our families. It's time to forgive. Because Mother and Father is the divine Father, creator, source of all that there is. And Mother is below us upon our feet. We were misinformed when we were told of our mother, our father. We were never abandoned. But we forgot. And it's time that we come together. We've been knowing about the collective, having to come together where we don't own our own business, to pay our own bills for our own single house. We're going to be building communities. What does that look like in your neighborhood? Some people don't like living with large groups of people. Maybe there's going to be several small houses. And then there'll be big, large community kitchens and gardens. Dig. Recreational halls and art studios. Rooms that we can come together to sing and dance and eat. Sacred space. We're going to be redoing all of our roads, highways, and streets, new signs, new billboards, new commercials, new TV, new books, new textbooks, new curriculum, new systems, new sustainable homes, new kinds of gardens, dig it? No more bars. There'll probably be a few. but there'll only be a few to host the old rock and roll shows. We're in a paradigm shift, so we have to be open to some of the old still being. And there'll be portals into that 3D world if you wish to go, but we'll be building the new earth where everything is aglow. It's going to take years for us to build the new earth. And from what I can see and feel and hear and know in the sacred seclusion in my home, I haven't been anywhere in about a month and a half. The last trip I took was to New Mexico to receive all of my belongings and come back here, and then the corona hit. So I know that the human beings are still being initiated, questioned, tested into choosing. And there's no light choosing here. It's no gray area. You have to choose whether you really want to be in your heart and really say what you mean and pay attention to what you're thinking, because those are generating your feelings. And you're going to pay attention to your energy and the way that you speak and be personally responsible. Whereas in the old paradigm, the old earth, that means last year, people, we're in the new earth now. It's possible that we would respond to the patriarchal energy of control and fear-based dominance in a certain way. And since the corona hit in March of 2020, this pandemic is affecting all of the individuals that live here, the ecosystem, in a good way, because it's getting a rest right now, and all the animals in the water is clearing, and the animals are able to interact in their actual environments where they've been polluted and overpopulated by human beings having no regard for the wildlife. The disregard for human life, the earth, and wildlife is atrocious when it comes to the mainstream society. And yet mainly almost every individual on the planet is aware of our rainforest being cut down and the pipelines being laid upon our lands, fracking for oil, causing damage to our water infrastructures, our acequios, our rivers. The pollution that we dump upon from using toilet bowls with water, flushing our feces into a system that doesn't cleanse itself in a way that is natural to our environment. And the products that we've allowed ourselves to use with not being informed, where we are now informed of plastic affecting our waters and our animals. And we are very aware of fossil fuels, and we are very aware of the GMOs and Monsanto, and we're very aware of chemical trails. And while the government doesn't want to let us in on the fact that there is life on other planets, it is most human beings that if you ask the wide public, and I lived in 5 states, and I did because I took public transportation most of my life, and I asked a lot of questions because I like to write and journal, and I'm a researcher, and I hold a lot of information with a photogenic memory, and I knew one day I would write my book, so I asked a lot of questions as I traveled, and I found out that most people on the planet are very aware of what's wrong with the planet and the way that we run our government, our politics, the way that we environmentally run our planet with recycling. Like, why don't we have a better system in 2020 for all cities and states to be able to recycle? The corruption in politics and the way that it has affected us, and the knowledge of the Illuminati and the 1% is part of the conspiracy theories that are circulating around the internet that need to be addressed. Eventually they will be. And in the meantime, what I feel Spirit is sharing with me is not to pay too much attention to the fact that there are that many conspiracy theories. And if I try to decipher all of them, it could distract me from what I'm supposed to be doing right now. And what I'm supposed to be doing right now is creating a new system. Crystal Nations is a new system that is developed through my diagnosis and my addiction. In 1987, my father lost custody of me to Daytop, which was a drug facility in upstate New York. It was a day program first that I attended and failed to recover from, so I got rotated to Millbrook, upstate New York, where I attended there for a year and a half, got rotated to Far Rockaway. In the second part of this facility, I spent 2 years of my life, from 16 to 18, in a drug facility, and it was there that I had envisioned a new system for the people, by the people, because we are the people. The drug facility that I was in had a system that is illegal today. Daytop is shut down. Almost all of the counselors were ex-addicts, and most of them were irresponsible and out of integrity and abused the residents. We were all really young, and in 1987 there were a lot of us that were empathic and psychic, and we were asked to be part of ceremonies and 5-day workshops that, again, today are literally illegal. They deprived us of food and water to get us to go through a state of psychosis. And then they badgered us and screamed at us and abused us to get us to tell them the gist of why we were in rehab. And then it was kind of abusive the way that they went about the tactics of finding the root cause of why somebody was doing drugs and why they were the way that they were. And so I took note of everything while I was in rehab. And for a very long time, I really didn't know who I was. And so I did drugs, and going on and off of drugs most of my life. I would be sober for 2 years, and then I would do drugs for 2 years. And living in 5 different states, I lived in Texas, California, South Carolina, New York, New Mexico, actually 6. I now live in Arizona. And living in all these different states, I mainly took the bus. Like I said, I asked a lot of questions. I worked as a bartender and a waitress, which I worked in mom and pop shops, in New York. I worked in gas stations and bagel shops and coffee shops. That was a big thing in New York. And so I got to see that blue collar, economic background. I grew up in Valley Cottage, New York, where I went to Catholic school for 8 years. So I know the demographic of white Christians that live in the suburbs, that literally had all the men and women that I went to school with in St. Paul's all had mothers and fathers, and they all had like the house and the cars and the money. So they were really white and entitled and privileged. I lost my mom at a really young age, so it gave me another demographic of individuals that I would relate to, which were the individuals that did drugs and were disconnected from their own families and that felt like outcast. People that were picked on and nerdy and not really liked because they weren't popular were the people that I gravitated to my entire life, at every school, at every job, at every location that I ever went to. I was always taking care of the underdog. But I grew up with a group of people in New York that, you know, really liked rock and roll and really hardcore drugs, and they had several different cliques form into groups, you know, that were kind of like, you know, Posse's and SVDC, NYDM, you know, and Black and Blue. There was many different crews that were also, as I traveled into New Mexico, I got to meet many in the Harley Davidson realm. And for 5 years, I met all the bikers and tattoo artists. So I got to meet that whole crew. And in New Mexico, they were all hippies and a different crew of people that were into high vibrational eating and the herbs and the crystals. So I got that demographic of people. I lived down south, and in South Carolina, I wasn't really liked for being from New York. I was told I was mixed up, and that was kind of weird, but that was that. And I learned about the South, the dirty South, the great South, God's country. And I really got that demographic of people. I went to moonshine reunions. I went to, I camped and hiked through the swamps and the creeks by myself. I raised literally 7 dogs that had 7 puppies. I had a boyfriend that I lived in a trailer with, and that was my first introduction with, you know, the Southern folk, who literally I learned their folk medicine ways and the remedies of herbal medicines from them. I learned how to garden, shoot a gun. I learned how to grind meat and from the farm animals and ride horses. And I also was introduced to Asheville and the Crystal Cave, you know, crystal store. And I really got to meet the indigenous tribe a long time ago, and was really taken back from the Cherokee. And it put me on a journey. You know, I got to read a lot of books about Carlos Castaneda, Brook Medicine Eagle, and it really led me to Santa Fe, New Mexico. Like I said, it was a whole new alternative life compared to that Southern New York hard life. And Santa Fe was beautiful, and because I worked as a bartender and a server most of my life, I was able to up level in Santa Fe, and I got jobs, and I worked everything between corporation jobs like Olive Garden, Buca de Beppo, and Cheesecake Factory. I worked for those restaurants, and IHOP, I think I worked for, and I did well because I couldn't get fired there. So I met that demographic of like the sheeple people work in corporations. And then really cool people do too, but there's like a massive amount of addiction there. And so I did really well because of that, because there was that group of mixed matched people who also, there was a group of people that were highly intelligent and went to college and were doing the waitressing just to get money. So, and then you worked with a lot of immigrants that came from different countries that didn't have anything. So right there, you work with all these different personalities. It was unbelievable. I learned a lot working in the food industry about how to handle people, my temper, how to relate to people, how to communicate to people, how to listen, how to take orders, you know, how to resolve conflict, how to come together, all for one, one for all, how to run a restaurant on a really good night, what that took and entailed, and what would happen on a really bad night. And this taught me a lot about the collective energy within a group. I learned a lot. I could go for days about this. But I also got to work for fine dining, and I got to book bands. So I really got to bring people together and put together themed nights where I had bartended and booked the bands of the night. And I was able to give a lot of locals that would never have an opportunity to be on stage to see what it was like to actually play for the crowd and become a musician. And I gave a lot of people opportunities, and I paid them. And so having these different demographics of people really, really helped me. I was able to work at the public schools for Santa Fe and nonprofit organizations like Camp Lanoa, Homes for the Homeless in upstate New York and Harriman State Park. I was a nature specialist and had my own log cabin for a whole summer and lived in an open lean-to and teepee and worked with kids from the inner city of New York City, of the 5 boroughs, and put together a curriculum and classes that would teach the kids, about nature. And there were days that I would teach them about spirituality and nature and music and nature and sound and nature and silence and nature. I was a really good teacher. I didn't have a school degree, and so I met people from all over the globe that got to get hired for the summer camp job. It was like something that was exceptional for people to be able to do, right, for the summer. So I had worked with people from Scotland, Ireland, Africa, London, Russia, and then all of the boroughs of New York City, and I from Rockland County. We really had a full all-world view at Camp Lanoa in 1996. I was hired there. And I just want to go back to Daytop. I worked and lived for 2 years with everybody from the 5 boroughs, giving me an opportunity to live and sleep and cry and dream and envision with every race under the sun. Every race under the sun. Every religion, every culture. That's New York. That's what's up. Nyack High School, when I went to Nyack High School, same thing. I lived right on the Hudson River, and we got a whole huge John Ray. And I was the girl that used to mix the different crews together, and I would weave my whole entire life, these different webs of people. When I came out to New Mexico, I eventually ended up in California. Again, another whole genre of people that were laid back, surfers, gorgeous, musicians, artists, all going to school, all really privileged. I had a hard time living in LA with all of that. It was like they were super privileged and I wasn't, and it really humbled me and really made me look at how I didn't like the way that I looked, and all of my insecurities about who I was and when I was raped came out. And that was like the first time I recognized my paranoia of being around people, and I got ostracized by a very large group of people there because, I had a lot of problems and I wasn't really kind to somebody, and they took sides, a whole restaurant, against me. I was really such a powerful person that I made like 5 groups in my lifetime not like me. So I really know what it's like to stand up, speak up, be me, be unique, be around other people, and really, get to know the people and who they are. I've been in protests, and I've been in many different self-help groups and psychic healing fairs I've been attracted to. And then it wasn't until I got completely sober in 2012 that I got introduced to a whole other higher vibrational group of spiritual leaders and healers and artists and musicians from all around the globe. I got to travel with the transformational music and art festivals, and it really gave me an opportunity to again get to really know who I was born into this world as and what I underwent. I realized that I chose to come here. I chose my parents. I never was really abandoned by God. We are eternal. When my mother died at a really young age, even way before them, since I was born, I've been connected to God. But after my mom died at the age of 9 in 1981, I got super connected with spirit and only spoke to God like I would a best friend. That was my best friend. It was Mother Earth and Father Spirit who guided me and took care of me. I allowed myself to go into some really bad spaces and places and jobs and situations, and I didn't realize way back then in my, I call them dog days because that's what it was like. I was a dog. I didn't really know how powerful and wonderful and beautiful and spiritual and connected I was. But I was. And no wonder people looked at me like I had 10 heads most of my life. And because I didn't learn about how to manage my thoughts and my emotions, I spun out of control, did not take care of myself. I allowed myself to put things in my body, on my body, and date people who would also share energy with me that wasn't about me. And it separated me from myself. I got confused and clouded and very toxic. And for a very long time, I walked around with that toxicity. And I would say that from the age of 23 to 43, I lived in a very toxic model of life. And I was 43 years old in 2014, the first year of the 3 Days of Light Gathering, my first transformational music and art festival. And I did get sober in 2012, but I got drunk and I fell the first 3 years of my sobriety. I actually didn't get completely sober, clean, until 2016. It was after Unify Festival that I really picked up that from this moment forward, no more alcohol. I think I did give it up completely in 2016, but I do know that I think that I used like 1 or 2 drinks or got a little buzz or something. Nothing severe, like I didn't get drunk, but I used. And in 2017 and in 18, I allowed myself to have a beer, each year, and that never takes me. I only have 1 glass, maybe a few sips. I don't even finish the whole beer. And I do that to control myself and to make sure that I'm in check. And I am. But now, this year in 2020, I will not have, and I have not had, any alcohol in my system. And I'm going to allow that to completely be in the old world, the old paradigm. And we're all being asked to let go of alcohol. Let it be the farewell party to alcohol, and then we can step into a new high, which is going to be playing music. It's no reason for us to become addicts and use drugs and alcohol as the way to connect. This is the way of the new earth. The seeds that we will be planting for the new earth will be taking us some time. I encourage everybody to write their own unique book and write with others. And we need new systems, new sustainable businesses. We need new buildings to be built from the ground up using solar panels and putting in filtration systems for water to be purified, and doing this in every sector and section and city and country and continent of the earth. We can now start remodeling the entire planet. And we are asking all of the architects, those that landscape and build and construct, those that are organized and have really good ideas about new roads, new pathways, new systems that could be implemented into this new earth. This new earth is this planet that will never cease. Love wins this time, and the coronavirus will end its pandemic very, very soon. And yes, there may be a second outbreak. We are very intelligent, and we have all the information that we need to survive as a species. And if you decide today to change your diet, to change your thinking, to change the way and the tone in which you speak, to be in a way that's productive non-violent, compassionate, empathic, and in the heart, conscious, we must find a new way of communicating. Even I, who have used many, many curse words with a strong New York gangsta attitude, I have to tone it down. I must look at all language. Maya Angelou, I look up to in the greatest way, and Martin Luther King and Nelson Mandela. They used words to inspire William Blake, and they used words, Albert Einstein, to really expand. Nikola Tesla. These are these innovator thinkers, mastermind geniuses that gave us the ability to pay attention to Mozart's sound. Our indigenous leaders have taught us everything we need to know about how to steward the lands. And there'll be many master teachers that you may have never heard of starting to emerge. These are our new earth leaders, and let's welcome them. We give thanks, great Creator, for the opportunity to build these new systems and these new intentional communities. If you have an idea or a vision out there and you would like to build a new system, gather your tribe. Those that vibe with you are the ones that will support you. And I believe that if you can bring together a group of anything between 2 to like 22 to 33 people, 12 people being the actual circle of visionaries that are creating councils, where there's a visionary that will represent a different sector or section or system of the world, where you bring in a collaboration of ideas to nourish your communities, yourselves, your homes, your families. Everything must be cleaned out and changed up, and we must level up emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually. We're looking at a lot of work to be done, but if we do it in an organized way without arguing, just allow people to speak, be mindful of speaking over people, ask for permission for everything that you do. More importantly, ask Great Creator, is this a good idea? Is this what Mother Earth wants me to administer to the people so that we can build this new system? I meditated about Crystal Nations as an example, and I went to Maui to sit in a 2-week silent meditation where I did yin yoga, breath work. I ate only raw, organic food to farm to the table food, superfoods. I did a workout and EFT and sun gazing and swimming in the ocean. I didn't have technology for 2 weeks straight, and I didn't wear shoes. I just walked upon Mother Earth on Maui, and this really allowed me to ask the question, is this vision that I've been having since 1987 something that Great Spirit, the ancestors, and Mother Earth Gaia want me to complete, to administer, to bring in, to manifest, to co-create? And I suggest that all beings out there really take the time out in this last huge development of the purge. We are purging as a collective, as a society. And I want to give thanks to you all. Give thanks, Great Creator. Ho and Ahe. Give thanks, Gaia, Mother Earth. We love you so much. We love all the children. Create workshops for the children. Dance, play music, make healthy food, breathe, do breath work, and know that we are the ones that we have been waiting for. We give thanks to the north, the east, the west, the south, above, below, within. We give thanks to all of the 4-leggeds and 2-leggeds and all of our galactic brothers and sisters. May all beings on the planet continue to have clean, free, flowing water and food. We give